Now, I know that there was quite a bit of backlash after the last episode where some fans weren't pleased with how the episode ended. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not a purist fan. My knowledge of the books don't extend beyond maybe excerpts that I've read online and here and there. So the prophecy of the Azura Ahai, I don't particularly know it or I'm too attached to it. So I was fine with Arya dealing the final blow or having the kill there. I'm, however, with those who felt the execution was not the best we've seen in Game of Thrones so far. Overall, it was still a great episode. I'm a huge fan of horror, and I believe that the showrunners indicated that they were going for a horror vibe with the darkness of which others had issue with. But I'll get back to that in a moment. So I was a huge fan of the cinematography, right? And the vibe that they were trying to create. That okay, these creatures of the night, and there was a horror element to it, and that much I could appreciate. Now, the execution not so much. Arya herself, again, as I said, fine with her doing the kill, but in terms of her getting to where she got in order to take that to make that strike, it wasn't made clear, right? So in terms of how Arya got to the point where she got to make the kill, it wasn't clear to a lot of viewers, and I thought they could have gone a couple of different ways to get that to get to that point. How did she get past the generals, the Night King's generals? How did she get past the wall of whites to get behind him? And why was she flying in the air as though she leapt from somewhere? But then we saw a wind past the one of the generals, which would suggest that she leaped, right? She leapt from behind him to that. I don't know. It was just a lot was left up in the air, and I'm not to say that they need to hold, hold our hands along the way to explain everything. But it would have been nice if they had at least, if it was a situation where she was wearing the mask. She was wearing the mask of one of the whites in order to get in that position. Show her removing the mask from her face, just about to make that kill, and that would have been fine. The generals themselves, of course, we didn't see anything of them until that very last moment. What would have been nice is if they had each of our most skillful warriors, take on each of the whites, and each of the whites, the Night King's generals, I should say. And with each, Brienne and Jaime could take on a general. Arya and Hound could take on another general, Jorah, and so on. And with each Night King that they did kill, some of the other whites would be eliminated, and it would clear a path for Arya to make that final kill. Something with a little more substance. It just felt as though that king, after that kill, after building the Night King up for several years, for him to go out with one attack, it just felt a bit. It didn't feel earned. And yes, Arya's intended to be an assassin, a skillful assassin, which I can admit fine, and a lot of people have said as much, but the show has gone down the road of making the assumption that if you've just watched the series, Arya is an assassin, but she's not made out to be this unstoppable force in the show, right? But she is that way in the novels to some extent. Right, so I feel as though the expectation from the showrunners is that we would know that this is how she would get from point A to point B without actually demonstrating those abilities before now, and it just felt it felt anticlimactic, right? A comparison that one of my a few of my friends made, drawing some parallel between this and Harry Potter, it would be as if they built up Voldemort for several years, and then when they finally found him, Hermione wore the invisibility cloak, and then she used the Avada Kedavra spell and killed him, and that was the end. So a lot could have been done differently, but we can't satisfy. Jorah. He had his moments. Expected her to the end. mourning the ones we've lost. Actually, surprised Greenworm actually. What's the next move? I need to prepare for Cersei, but
Fuck's off.
So I'm not even sure.
No signs, no blessings. Who knows what he wants?
I don't imagine thinking about that subject will leave you any happier than before. But we still have us to contend with.
Thank you. I feel more.
This is clever.
Glad to see Varys back in the forefront again. He's been in the background for quite some time now.
You were married before Sansa.
Drink.
Everything happened for a reason. That they have another battle really over the sunrise. Everyone's why is he going crazy?
It's night time. It's freezing and everyone's celebrating.
I guess
You
he
should be
wants
celebrating
to
with them.
celebrate too.
I am celebrating.
By order of the Queen.
I do hope you're not
Congratulations.
gullible enough to think that she didn't do that for her own selfish reasons.
I don't know how to be lord of anything. I hardly know how to use a fork.
Sober enough.
No.
Yeah, kind of are.
Only I didn't know Sejura well. But I know this. If he could have chosen a way to die, it would have been protected.
Not the way he wanted. Not the way I love you.
It seems
Is that all right?
quite different from how she... The writers have killed the friendship between these two for me. They just killed it. I love their dynamic. Only half?
The Northmen as well.
When the people find
That's
out what we've
surprising.
done for them, we saved them.
Cersei will make sure they don't believe it.
You understand we'd all be dead if not for her.
If you all
We'd be
died,
corpses
she
marching
would
down
be
to King's
next
Landing.
anyway.
I is the one that killed the Night King,
Her men gave their lives defending Winterfell.
and we will never forget it.
We needed her. We needed her army. Her dragons. You did the right thing. Not one of us.
If you only trust the people you grow up with, you won't make many allies.
That's all right. I don't need many allies.
Ah, yeah.
We're family.
I've never been a Stark.
You are. Just as much Ned Stark's child as any of us.
You're my brother. Not my half-brother.
Why not? They all love you now. You're the big hero.
Don't like heroes.
Must have felt good.
Ending.
Have some unfinished business.
The mountain.
Me too.
Gonna leave me to die again if I get hurt.
You have to see these two back
Probably.
together.
The real North.
Gilly lived. Thought she died down in the crypt earlier on when they were attacked.
There's only so many books a person can read, so we...
I'm sure he knows how it happens.
Yeah. And congratulations,
It's a
Sam.
boy.
You can name her Juna. But from that distance. But they can only aim in one direction, so all the ships are facing in one direction. To attack from behind, they're useless. Behind the ships. They've encountered the weapon before. All they fly so carelessly over England.
All of them.
Your Grace,
Yeah, you guys are horrible at planning.
I promised you
moves.
I would look you in the eye and speak directly if I ever thought you were making a mistake.
I'll fall from the sky. They took Missandei.
Cersei needs to be destroyed. But if we attack King's Landing with Drogon,
With
these
the
are the
weapons on
people
it.
you came here to protect. I beg you,
Wouldn't they
Your
just
Grace,
shoot him
do
down
not
just as
destroy the
easily?
city you came to save. Do not become what
Who
you
all
said.
that
5, 6,
sound
I've
proof
lost
or
count.
something?
You've always
'Cause
known
you guys
my
are
reason.
exactly
At a certain
whispering.
point, you choose a person you believe in, and you fight for that person.
Even if you know it's a mistake.
Advisors.
I'm with Varys on this one.
You know where my loyalty stands.
With the people.
You know I will never betray the realm. What is? We don't know their names, but they're just as real as you and I. They deserve to live. They deserve food for their children.
Every man, woman, and child in Riverrun. For Cersei.
Help me save this city.
My lord, I am only a mouthpiece for our queen.
Your queen.
Cersei is queen. Your queen's last dragon is vulnerable. Your armies are battle-weary and depleted, while ours have been reinforced with the Golden Company.
Oh well, it was nice knowing you, Tyrion. It's a Grey Worm.
Dracarys!
Done. Do your thing. Alright, so we had quite a bit happening. It was a bit of a dramatic episode. This episode, it was a bit more not action heavy per se, but then we got all the action we could ever want in the last episode. So here we have quite a bit of revelations. Jon finally having that discussion with Daenerys about his heritage and what that means after the war to come with Cersei, and she made a proposal for him to basically give up his claim to the throne, swear Sam to secrecy, swear Bran to secrecy, and tell no one that he's of his claim. Of course, for a lot of us, and we've wondered the very same thing. The question was posed back in episode 2, where Sam asked Jon if he believes Daenerys would be willing to give up would do the same thing that he's done, just give up his claim to the throne. And I believe honestly, I don't believe he would believe that she would actually give up her claim to the throne, and none of us would. None of us believe that, right? He did tell Sansa and he did tell Arya, and so I swore them to secrecy, not to say it to anyone else. I don't believe Sansa is going to keep that promise, and to be honest, I'm on her side here. I wouldn't blame her if she did use that information to her advantage, because Daenerys is she's shown that she cares more about the throne than anything else. As much as she proclaimed her love for Jon, she cares more about the throne than Jon, and she's willing to do anything to get it. And while she says she's not a dictator, she does and say things that dictators normally say and do. They're in a situation where Jon has pledged allegiance to her, regardless of whatever happens. He's made it clear he doesn't want the throne, and he will support her no matter what. But Tyrion and Varys waiting on that subject as well, as to who is right to lead the people. And to be honest, I don't. While many of the people here consider Jon to be the best fit, I don't consider him to be the best fit. If anything, he's pretty much the same as. He's in the same gray area as Daenerys herself is. He has certain qualities that make him a ruler, but he's lacking in other areas, and his advisors kind of make up for that. And it's the same thing with Daenerys. She has a lot of qualities. She's a lot of strong qualities that make her fit for leadership, but she's lacking in certain areas, and her advisors make up for that, right? So in her case, Tyrion and Varys are more the voice of reason, and to say to her, don't do this, or don't do that, because this is how things work here, and to advise her accordingly. In Jon's case, it's to have advisors who will do the things that he himself will not do. In this case, Sansa is more in that role, or Sansa and Arya together. All right, because let's face it, Jon is a good leader, but at the same time, he makes a lot of emotional and dumb mistakes, a lot of which usually has cost him, but the show normally glosses over it, and no one really calls him out on it. Like that, the Battle of the Bastards, where he ran into the field and to save his brother, which failed and got a lot of men killed, because a lot of them had to rush out there to prevent him from getting killed, and that basically abandoned any plan and tactics that they had put in place before, right? And no one really called him out on that. It was just like, oh, okay, he made a mistake and dozens of people got killed. So the show usually glosses over Jon's mistakes, because he's intended to be this righteous character, but he's no better a leader than Daenerys. They're both pretty much on the same level, in my opinion. Varys himself has said, he said before that he will do whatever is best for the realm of men, right? He'll do whatever is best for the realm. And I believe Daenerys knows, he said it to her, if ever a time comes where I believe that you're making a mistake, I will look you in the eye and I will tell you. And he told her. So at this point, I imagine she does know that he's having second thoughts about his allegiance to her. So I'm actually, I said it before, I'm a bit concerned about Varys' about his surviving this season. I do feel that if he continues on the path that he's on now, that Daenerys will probably kill him for treason, and they have more important things to worry about now. So that maybe will not go in that direction. She lost a dragon, and similar to the last episode, this was a bit, I don't know. You're not quite sure what led to that particular outcome. So we knew that the dragon was injured initially, but where I'm a bit lost is how they managed to fly into an ambush like that. She's in the skies for one, right? And that offers her a lot more visibility than the fleets on the sea. So even if it's a situation where the fleet didn't see Euron's fleet coming, she should have seen him like miles away, right? So it's a bit weird as to how they got to that point, how she managed to get shot down, and what's more, the weapon that they're using is only points in one direction, right? So I cannot understand for the life of me why, and the ships are all going in one direction. I can't understand why she wasn't able to fly around behind the ships. They're sail ships, so they can't change direction at a moment's notice. And the weapon itself cannot turn, at least not 180 degrees, right? At very least, not without, unless you plan on shooting through the sails themselves, because it's at the very front of the ship, right? So I don't know. There's a bit of sloppiness there. I don't know if it's intentional or accidental, but the execution, in terms of how we actually got to that point, it just wasn't. It doesn't seem logical, right? But nonetheless, we lost the dragon, and that leaves Daenerys with only Drogon, and for some reason they now advise her, and I'm not sure why she agreed to this now, given the last time that they had an agreement with Cersei, she didn't hold up her side of it, her end of the bargain, and I mean, in spite of that, she didn't show up. A good portion of their armies got wiped out, and the initial plan was also Tyrion's plan, and Daenerys criticized him for his decision at that time as well, and several others before that, and for a few episodes they suggested that she has begun to lose faith in his decisions. So I don't even know why she would agree to. Why should agree to his plan now? I mean, it made sense, and I suppose she was looking at it from a perspective of what would Jon do in this situation, and we know what Jon would do. He would try to broker peace, even if in this situation I don't see why they would think Cersei would actually agree to a truce and surrender, but I imagine because she's been losing support and she's seeing the other houses rally behind Jon, she felt as though this was an opportunity to show that she can be a compassionate leader, and so offer an olive branch to Cersei and see what happens. Doesn't work out that way. She ends up killing Missandei, who, while I have enjoyed her, I mean, it's not a particular character I'm attached to. I'm sure Grey Worm is, but I'm not. Of everyone that, I mean, their entire fleet sunk. I'm not quite sure how it is that they knew to take that specific person and knew that she was of any value to them. But she's now gone. Grey Worm is, of course, now out for blood. He wants them to attack. Daenerys herself is, she's done. He's done negotiating. He's gonna torch the entire capital, and in this instance, I don't blame her. Right? I thought Tyrion's plan wasn't practical, given what they know of Cersei. Jaime, of course, is on his way back to King's Landing for some reason. I honestly do not know why, because I mean, he's finally made some progress with his relationship with Brienne, and I'm going to touch on that for a moment, because that was the I don't know, a defining moment in the episode for me where I was just not on board with a lot of what happened. Brienne and Jaime's relationship so far throughout the seasons, I have loved their relationship because it came from a place of you're a man of honor, you're a woman of honor, I respect you and I look up to you, and I want to I know you're the knight that I want to become, right? They each saw something in each other, and in some ways that made them the characters that they are now. And so for me, for them to make that into a romantic relationship, and it can be argued that there were hints of that before. I chose to look at it, and that's just my perspective. I saw it as just mutual respect for each other as knights. Well, she's not a knight; she wasn't a knight before, but he saw a lot of the qualities that he wished he had in himself. He saw a lot of the qualities that would make a knight in her. And so I saw that as a relationship as a mutual respect. And the show is suggesting, I don't know, I don't want to say this is what the writers intended, but it feels as though the show is suggesting that you cannot have that without some romantic element being in a relationship, and that's just not true. So I don't particularly like the romanticizing of their relationship. I would have preferred if they remained friends, because it makes light of Brienne becoming a knight, because it now feels as though Jaime made her a knight more so because he had feelings for her, and less because she deserved it. So that was a defining moment for me for the episode. That was the defining moment for me, to be honest, because it just irked me. It just did not feel right to me. Alright, so but it's done. Jaime has left, gone back to King's Landing because he feels as though, I don't know what he hopes to accomplish there. Tyrion just tried, and that failed, to save Cersei, and I guess Jaime is going to try to save her as well. A lot of us have theorized that perhaps Jaime will be the one to kill Cersei, and that's very possible. I imagine he's the only one who's able to get close enough to her to kill her. Assuming that happens without them having to actually fight and in their armies, or having Daenerys burn the capital down. But he's a good ways off from King's Landing, so I don't imagine he'll get there before that happens. I'm not entirely sure how she intends to do that, to burn the capital down, given that the weapons that Qyburn developed seem to be very effective against her dragons, and they're on the castle walls all the way around. I'm not quite sure how she intends to attack. But as I said before, the weapons can only point in one direction. So if she can somehow fly high enough to get overhead, she can do a nosedive and fly down, where it's outside of the range of the weapon itself. Right? Should have done that with the boats. It was a lot easier to do that with the boats, but they didn't do that. So I imagine something like that should be possible. I don't know the range of the weapons. It seems to have a wide range based on how she was shot out, how her dragon was shot down. All right, so it'll be interesting to see how she takes that. She takes that on. Jon himself, I don't know. He's in a difficult situation where he loves Daenerys, she loves him. They address the whole aunt and nephew thing, at least Varys did, and it's not unusual for royalty. I don't know why they're suggesting that. It's the Targaryens, but it's not unusual for royalty, period, to marry those within their families, and they've already technically slept together, and it's no weirder than, not that I'm supporting it, but it's no weirder than Cersei and Jaime's relationship. Right, so eventually I think it's going to get to the point where, as Tyrion suggested, they will marry and be king and queen. Varys made a good point where he said that he doesn't believe Daenerys likes to have her orders questioned, and that is absolutely true. Right, so at this point, based on where what they're hinting at, I don't imagine Daenerys will survive this season. Right, and we will very likely end up with Jon on the throne. Not that it's not something I would want. I don't believe he would be the ideal person, but that may very well be the case. And Sansa will rule as, I guess, warden in the north now. And that would be an okay outcome for me. I would have wanted something a bit more unexpected. I spoke of earlier on a bit about the last episode and what I had hoped to have happened, and what would have been nice is if the Night King still had some part to play in the battle to come. What would have been good for the writers to do even would have been to have the Night King actually go to King's Landing instead of staying for the battle, and force Cersei to go to the north and join forces with them to fight, and then after that, their battle follows, right? And that could have been covered in one episode. I do feel as though Cersei's battle should have been the one that was limited to just one episode, and the Night King should have gotten more screen time. But that it is what it is, and the Night King is now gone, so we're not focusing on the battle with Cersei. But it's just that it's not a battle I'm as invested in as I was in the fight against the Night King. And it's still interesting, but it's not what we were told would be the ultimate threat and ultimate battle, right? Daenerys and Cersei's relationship continues to be on the rocks. She now has information that she can use against Daenerys. I believe she will, hopefully at the right time, because I didn't particularly like Sansa for the first few seasons. I still don't to some extent. She's never really been an interesting character, but I find myself agreeing with her more and more between last season and this one. But I believe that's more because the other characters just keep making dumb decisions, and not so much on her being so brilliant that she's noticeable. It's just that everyone else around her is just not up to par and keep making silly decisions. So I'm with Sansa on this one. She wanted the men in the north, or the armies in the north, to actually wait before attacking. Although, to be fair, I think that was her attempt to not have them go, and John was right in his intervention there that the North made a pledge, so they will stand by it, and they should. Not because of what Daenerys suggested, because she's saying I rode north to help you fight, but at the same time, if they lost, she would have been next, right? And there's no way she would have survived on her own. So it was a I help you, you help me situation. It's not a I came in and I saved you situation. It's just not. So I agree with John in that instance that they should, in fact, they gave their word to support her in her fight, and they rightfully should, right? But that's the extent to which I agree with John. Everything else, I'm on Sansa's side here, in that Daenerys is just not. She's not shown that she's suited as good leadership. Varys has come to realize it. I think Tyrion also realizes it, but he's in denial, right? But it's as I said, both Jon and Daenerys they're leaders in their own right. I don't believe Jon is a better leader than Daenerys, or Daenerys a better leader than Jon. I still put them on the same level. Just that the qualities that they possess kind of balance each other out. So if they do marry and Daenerys, becomes a bit more accepting of sharing her rule, then I do believe it would actually work out, because they would balance each other out. She's a bit more forceful and direct, and he's on the opposite side of the spectrum. So it would be a good match. That would be too perfect an ending for Game of Thrones. So I don't particularly want that, but if they did do that, I certainly wouldn't have any complaints. Nothing else happened for the episodes. For the most part, we just had our farewell to a lot of the characters. At the beginning, we had our goodbye to those that fell in the war against the Night King, Jorah and a few others. So got that send off. Of course, Sam and Gilly have now left Winterfell as well. Gilly pregnant again, this time 4 Sams, because I forgot the child that they had before wasn't technically Sam's child, even though he was named Sam. So Sam is off, Tormund is off. Of course, he pretty much lost Brienne there, although she's open now. Jaime's gone and he may not return. So, hey, Tormund, this is your opportunity. Alright, so Tormund left. He said the north is not home, so he's left and gone back to the wall. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to the next episode to see what exactly Daenerys plans on doing, but more so than that, I'm interested to see what Arya and Sansa do with the information that they were given. Arya, we saw, rode off with the Hound. I've been waiting to see those two back together again for a long time, so I'm glad to see that they're going to be traveling together. The Hound, of course, has his unfinished business with his brother, and I imagine that Arya is going after Cersei. I don't believe she'll get that kill because she took out the Night King. I don't think they're going to have her take Cersei out too. But it's good to see them back together. Sansa had a moment with the Hound as well, and for a brief moment I'd forgotten that they, while she was married to Joffrey, they had a few moments where and the Hound would have, or the Hound tried to get her away, right? Tried to sneak her away, or he would have if she had agreed to go, but she didn't. And in her conversation here, she says as much that if she did leave at that point in time, she would still be the little bird that she was back then, and she wouldn't have become the person she is now. She reminds me a lot of her mom, Catelyn Stark here, and that's a good thing, right? So it was good to see them having a conversation, and they. I don't know. As I said, I don't know what Sansa intends to do with the information she got. I don't think Arya will say anything to anyone because Arya has other things she wishes to take care of. Gendry, of course, not being one of those things. Daenerys, made him or gave him a title. I guess a title that he, in some ways, deserved because he was Robert's son, but he is in fact a bastard. And of course, she only gave it back to him because she wanted men who are loyal to her. And that's one way to go about getting it. But then, of course, he approached Arya and wanted her to stay with him, wanted her to marry him, and she turned him down. I feel bad for Gendry. I mean, he's been through a lot, and I don't know, the love thing kind of came out of nowhere because, I mean, they slept together, but aside from them coming back, meeting back together here, they haven't seen each other for a very long time, right? People fall in love in seconds in this show, so it's fine. It's kind of what we come to expect. So she turned Gendry down because she, as she said, she's not a lady. Although I don't believe that's the last we'll hear of that topic because, I mean, once she has killed Cersei, if she does intend kill Cersei, what then, right? I don't believe he's asking her to be a lady of the court and to stop being herself. So I believe in the end she will come back and I think they'll be together. That seems to be what the show is hinting at, right? But she's off, and I don't believe she'll do anything with the information Jon gave her. I'm more interested to see what Sansa does with the information that she's gotten. With that, she could certainly garner she could certainly get support behind Jon, but again, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it, but I think at this point, sometimes the things that Jon doesn't want seem to be the things that are best for him and for the realm, right? So I do believe, as Varys had said, that it's kind of out of his hands and not about what he wants now. It's what about what's best for the people, right? So very interested to see what's to come in the next episode. I imagine that we'll be in for quite a battle. There are only 2 episodes left, and I imagine the last episode is going to be more of a conclusion to say, okay, this is where these characters are. This is where everyone is. They're happy. So the next episode, I think, will be an all-out battle, especially with Daenerys pissed off. Bronn himself made his appearance, but he didn't kill either of the two. He's still weighing his options, and waiting to see, okay, if the odds, well, he did say that he's a betting man, and right now the odds are in Daenerys' favor, but she just lost a dragon, so, and her fleet, so the odds are no longer in her favor. So I don't know whether he's going to reappear and be like, okay, I'm taking one of you guys. Jamie already left, so I'm sure he can make his way to Tyrion. But I don't believe I don't believe Bronn intended to kill either of them, and I don't think he will either. Right? But rightfully, he's been given promise after promise by each Lannister, and for the most part, they've not fulfilled their end of the bargain. So I kind of understand his stance now. Is like, okay, look, this is what we're doing. All right. You guys are going to get me what I deserve, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm staying out of this. So he's not taking part in the battles, and who can blame him? Alright, so excited to see what the next episode holds. Be sure to post down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about this episode and what you are looking forward to the most. The next episode is going to be brilliant. Alright, be sure to hit like or subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.